last day of OFC, and I'm here with the CEO of the Taara chip. Mahesh, I was at the Mobile World Congress a couple of weeks ago, and I have never seen so much enthusiasm on free space optical communication. Can you tell us, what is Taara?
Well, first of all, Jose, thank you so much for inviting me over to have a conversation with everyone. So what is Taara? Well, Taara, by the name itself, means star in Sanskrit. And it's sort of been our beacon or North Star to tell us that we are out to go find a way to solve for the internet access around the globe. And we are in spin out of the Google's Moonshot Factory. It's called X, the Moonshot Factory. It's the same group that came up with Waymo and Wing and Tidal and a whole bunch of other moonshot projects. So we're a recent graduate from X, the Moonshot Factory, and we are now an independent company. And Taara's mission is to provide abundant and affordable internet access for everyone. And we are using this technology called free space optics, which you're very familiar with, but it's essentially beams of light that is able to transmit over long distances and is able to bring people online and in a fast, secure, but also in a very affordable way.
Mahesh, FSO is not new. We have been always connecting with light and communicating to points with light, but you are going to the ultra volume production, and that's why you got the Taara chip. What's the Taara chip?
So Taara chip is our next generation technology. So historically, free space optics, as you know, has always relied on gimbaling solutions, mechanical steering, mirrors and optics. It's not that we are going to be not doing away with all of those things, but historically the arc has shown that things have gotten cheaper, things have gotten simpler, things have gotten faster. On one side, there's a reductionist kind of thing, but at the same time, we're not compromising on the capabilities. That's essentially what Taara chip is doing. So we are basically taking our next leap forward into silicon photonics using light, but at a chip level to be able to transmit. So we're taking the core components of our current product, which is Lightbridge, and we're shrinking those core components and bringing it down to the size of a chip or a small fingernail. And this small chip will be able to transmit, receive, as well as steer light at tens of gigabits per second. And that's the next frontier in which we are advancing, and we are going to be starting to build products using this technology.
So you have first the Lightbridge demonstrator, and you managed to integrate it, to reduce it. And you talk about silicon photonics, but you're also talking about a steering light. Are there any components that you're adding to silicon photonics to be able to do beam steering?
Yeah. So traditional free space optics has relied on mechanical moving mirrors. What we are doing right now is essentially applying the same concepts that radio frequency have done, which is phased arrays, but we are applying it to the optics domain. So we're doing phased arrays using light. And that's essentially how we'll be doing beam steering, or we'll be controlling and manipulating light by introducing just basically phase delays in the way we are deploying and using our transmitters, just introducing phase delays to not be able to steer the light.
So Mahesh, here the beauty is that you are integrating silicon photonics and phase antenna arrays, MEMS, together on the same chip. How difficult that was?
So the good thing is, semiconductor technology has matured over all of these decades. I mean, if you were to look at, computers the size of this room has now been shrunk to the size of a small microprocessor, or even hard drives that has been the size of a pallet has now been shrunk to the size of a small, semiconductor chip.
Yeah.
The same thing we're doing with our current moving parts and the moving MEMS mirrors. We're shrinking it down and we're making it a MEMS-based, a phased array-based platform using the silicon photonics. And we think that this is going to unlock a whole lot of possibilities. The simplest way to think about what we are doing is a digital camera with a laser pointer. So the laser pointer is necessary to be able to transmit light, and then the digital camera is like a sensor that is receiving light. Now, you could put optics in front of this silicon photonics chip, or the Taara chip, and you'll be able to go far distances, or you can take away those optics and you'll be able to do short last mile connectivity. So it basically allows you the best of both worlds, just like a digital camera where you can do interchangeable optics in front of it. That's exactly what we are doing.
The most amazing thing in Barcelona, the Mobile World Congress, what everybody was talking about, Mahesh, infinite bandwidth. So Taara is promising infinite bandwidth. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I think we're basically riding the coattails of physics here. electromagnetic spectrum has always has been a great way to kind of think through what this infinite bandwidth is going to look like. Historically, as we look at 2G to 3G to 4G and now 5G, every decade we've been going higher and higher up on the frequency spectrum or on the frequency curve on the electromagnetic. So we went from, say, 1, 2, 3 gigahertz to now 70, 80 gigahertz to be able to provide connectivity. But the radio frequency spectrum is headed into a wall, which is the terahertz gap, which allows us, which basically means that you won't be able to transmit anything beyond that. So it's too fast for electronics, but it's too slow for optics. So essentially, you are caught in a lower spectrum of the radio frequency, and you're scraping the bottom of the barrel to try and pack more number of users, more number of connections and devices, and therefore it's interference prone, and that's why it is the spectrum is licensed. Now, how do you kind of overcome this? So there's one way to do this is to leapfrog over the terahertz gap, which is essentially what fiber optics have done, and pretty much all the optics have done, is to go to the light domain, because you can have essentially infinite amount of bandwidth in the optical space, where you can't even scratch the surface. There's so much bandwidth available. It's interference free, and there's really not a whole lot of operators out there. The only challenge is it has been done in a wired way. So what Taara is working on, both with the Lightbridge product as well as the Taara chip, is to harness the power of light to be able to provide the speeds of fiber or the speeds of light, but with all the flexibility of wireless that RF provides. So that's essentially, we're trying to bring the best of both worlds, and that's why we are really excited about this opportunity.
When we bring new technology to optical communication network, the world always is resiliency. How resilient is a free space optical communication network? And remember, we live in this world in which we have climate change completely, we have storms, we have wind, sandstorms. How resilient is your network?
Yeah. I mean, historically, free space optics has struggled to be able to keep up with it. So people who are familiar with free space optics have encountered the challenges of weather and even the slightest amount of rain and challenges associated with very precise pointing. But what we have done essentially is we have taken this past several years to refine the algorithms. So we have now built in mechanisms to do very precise level of pointing. We are talking about pointing a chopstick beam width over distance of like several kilometers and pointing it at a grain of rice. So that's the level of precision pointing that we've been able to accomplish using our Lightbridge solution, and it's only going to get better with our Taara chip. So that's one. But we have also done a lot of advancements in algorithms with ARQ and FEC, which basically means even if a bird flies to the path, you're able to detect it and retransmit that packet. So you really don't see that hindrance there. The last bit is a typical question comes like, what about weather, like adverse weather, like rain, or what about fog? So there are certain things where the higher up in frequency you go, you are subject to a lot of environmental degradation. What we have done is essentially integrated different modulation schemes, different hybrid solutions, so that in the 1 or 2 percentage points, you will be able to fall back to a radio frequency or a different frequency that allows us to maintain communication without compromising on overall availability and throughput. So we have hybrid platforms, but we have also done advancements in photonics, in optics, in basically signal processing and algorithms. Collectively put together, we have enough link budget to make sure that we are able to have a very resilient network that can be used by tier 1 operators around the world. And today we have players like T-Mobile and Airtel and others have been deploying our technology as part of their 5G backhaul solution.
Tell us a bit more about that collaboration with T-Mobile. It's really exciting. I heard that you already had some early deployments. Tell us a few examples of those.
Yeah, so I'll give you a couple of examples of what we have done with T-Mobile. The first one that we did was in Albuquerque Balloon Festival. It's in the middle of New Mexico with really no connectivity for 5G. So there's millions of people pouring in over a very short period of time for this balloon festival. And you want to be able to provide them with proper 5G backhaul services. So what we have done is essentially taken a fiber point of presence and extended it to a cow, a cell on wheels, which allowed them to be able to provide very high-speed connectivity to the balloon festival. And so what we have done is, rather than having to pull fiber in order to be able to provide a temporary use case, we've been able to resiliently pull up a free space optic solution and do this. We did a similar solution even for Coachella as well. Same thing, It's in the middle of nowhere, and you want to make sure that you have very high quality connectivity for 5G, and that's essentially what we have done. And you're essentially being able to provide fiber-like speeds in backhaul to these cell towers, which are otherwise being backed up by only radio frequency up until now.
Mahesh, let's look at the future. When can we have this accessible?
So I think what we have done over the last several years is proven that free space optics has another real comeback, a strong comeback, both in terms of reliability, performance, cost, affordability. We've been operating in India and Africa up until now. But with the next generation of technology using the Taara chip, we are about to venture into a world which is going to be even more faster and even more smaller, but more importantly, more affordable. And that is about probably a year or so away from where we are right now. We already have the very first prototypes of the product that are coming out. And our hope is to productize this and make it accessible on a limited basis early next year, and then we'll go from there.
One of my dreams for the photonics industry is to enable that all the world can have universal access to reliable information. What role does Taara play on this dream?
We want to play a key role in that. But I'll also say this, that if you look at the 5 billion people that are connected and the 3 billion people that are unconnected, even the 5 billion, how many operators are there? How many technologies have you used? So this is not a claim to say that Taara is going to solve all of world's connectivity, but I think we have an important role to play, especially as bandwidth demands are growing with AI and machine learning and everything. What we want to make sure is that we are able to augment existing solutions like fiber or radio frequency. We want to go into places that are not able to be accessible because of right-of-way or permits. We want to be able to provide very affordable and abundant throughput and be complement to existing solutions. And so that's the role that I think we want to play. But ultimately, the world that we are really looking forward to is one where everybody is connected and it's very affordable and you're not really compromising on that. So it should be like the air that we breathe. And that's the real dream that we have. And I think we want to play a key role, partnering with everybody else in the ecosystem and the industry. And we are really looking for partners to come and talk to us.
Mahesh, let's play the crystal ball game. The last question for you is OFC 2030.
Okay.
How does Taara look like?
I think it would be great if we have a complete end-to-end light-based communication solution. And so it starts with the subsea fiber. From the middle mile, could be fiber, could be last mile solutions using our technology, even down into the home. But if you have a complete light-based solution, you have no speed breaks anywhere in between. And I think that is a wonderful world. And I think Taara would want to play a significant role, not only just in the middle mile, but also in the last mile. And that's the world that we are envisioning. And hopefully, it's a lot more sooner than 2030.
In those 5 years, many optical corporate members would like to help you. Can you tell us one or two challenges that the other corporate members would be happy to assist you with?
Yeah, I mean, we are venturing into the world of silicon photonics. It's a new territory for us, but also for many people. And I think light has a very, very promising future. What I really am looking forward is collaboration with all the industry experts, and that's why we are here at OFC, is to partner with them to try and advance the world of not only free space optics, but silicon photonics in general. And we think that there is a significant role where we can go. They say if you want to go farther, you have to go together. And we are here for that very reason.
So we're going really far. Mahesh, congratulations on everything that you're achieving.
It was fun.